Okay, cool. So my ABS died. Um, yeah, for those of you that don't know me, um, my star's name is Blackout HS. My real name is Lewis Spencer. I've been playing high stakes cash now for about a little bit over a year. Um, Before that, I was playing a lot of 500 Zoom on stars. Playing roughly, moved up to 1k and 2k on stars. Um, Maybe the end of last year. Um, Playing a lot of live actually in the last 6 months. I played a bit of ACR 5k when I was at home this summer. Um, but maybe I've just been playing live. I'm playing biggest game I've been playing is like 200, 400. So I'm actually at my parents right now because it's Christmas. So hence the kind of ghetto setup. I'm shooting off my laptop, but yeah, I'm gonna be playing the button versus big blind spot that just came out on DTO Cash. Hopefully, you can go over some useful heuristics for people to learn. I really think that this spot people really neglect single race pots as a whole when they're studying. Everyone looks at 3-bet and 4-bet pots, mainly just because they are the highest. Yeah, everyone looks at their biggest pots and they lose. I think that's just like a really natural thing. You know, that the biggest pots that you lose in general are going to be 3-bet and 4-bet pots. But if you actually look at the composition of your win rate and you know where you're actually winning, like single race pots make up like an absurd amount of total hands that you play. So for every EV/BB you're leaking in single race pots, you know, those are the hands that contribute the most to your win rate. So I think that a lot of people study wrong, study inefficiently, and I think that if you really nail a bunch of the single race pot stuff, you're gonna start crushing like majority of the games that you're playing. So I played a little bit this morning. I think a lot of my volume is on the dev server. I'm just gonna go over the preflop stuff quickly. Um, I believe these solutions are for 500 zoom rake. Yeah. If you go on preflop.dto, you can actually get the solves for free by making an account. I believe it's 1. So yeah, this is roughly what the button range looks like. You know, the bottom opens 8-9 off, King 8 off, 8-5 suited. It's starting to mix a little bit of folding, but this is all roughly accurate. Opening to 2.5, and then this is how the big blind range is being constructed. Bunch of the 3-betting being done around the middling portion, you know, the 10x suited 10x region. Roughly 9 plus for value, 8's mixing. King Jack plus, Ace Jack plus, and then a bunch of the super standard wheel ace 3-bets, Ace Deuce 3 4 5. Yeah, this is all pretty normal. I'm just gonna go and get into actually playing the game, I think, and get a few spots down. Aces. So Queen 4-3 flush draw. I think we're gonna be primarily betting majority of our range just for a small sizing. I think that the equity of our range is just too high in general on this board for us to be doing much checking back. Obviously with aces it's really easy. I always try and think of whenever I'm in game, playing spots like this what the cusp hand would be, or what the hand I really wouldn't want to face getting raised is with. And I think the majority of hands on this sort of texture are going to be like relatively trivial decisions. You're either going to have a 3 straight, like some sort of backdoor, like every single spot. Obviously ace is going to clear call. I think I would play 0 flop 3 bet actually on this board. Flop 3 betting doesn't come up too often in cash. Mainly just because you're playing at an SPR where it's always easy for you to get in the money over 3 streets. Playing more streets IP is just going to be better. It's going to be higher EV as well. It definitely does happen on some boards, but I don't think boards that are this disconnected are going to feature it whatsoever. Very interesting turn. Now, when we have aces, I think when we pick bet sizing on the turn, it's mostly going to be a non-polar sizing, facing check raise check. Our opponent's check raise on this board is going to look like a bunch of flush draws, a bunch of queen X, you know, sets, 2 pair. So then I think on the turned queen, he's going to play a pretty heavy checking strategy. I'm going to roll. I'm going to bet on a 15. Yeah, it is just a pure check. Yeah, we're only playing a small size after peeling the check raise, which I think I nailed in game, but aces just doesn't benefit, doesn't achieve much from actually putting more money in the middle, you know. It's relatively easy for us to get to a point with aces where we start condensing our opponent's range to hands that beat us. As well as that, like dominating the nut flush draw, I think is a really big deal. You're gonna like obviously on an ace, you're gonna cooler the nut flush draw like a decent bit. You don't really benefit from folding out anything. Like you can see that predominantly the hands that are betting are hands that benefit from folding out the 3 straights around the queen. They're going to be check raising the flop. So like when the big blind check raises, let's see. Yeah, the bot is raising more of the wheelie stuff rather than the queen X wraps. But it's going to have a bunch of these hands like Jack 10 at like a low clip, King 10, King Jack with a spade, even like King 5, which was I think the one I mentioned actually when we were on the flop, King 6. So like all of these like 3 straights with an over, like 3 to 4 straights. Like obviously I think like the wheelie stuff is relatively easy to find in game. You know, it's easy to look at a hand like 5-6 and like 5-6 with a backdoor. Like I don't think that's a particularly difficult check raise flop bluff to find. The same with 5 deuce. But you can look at my turn betting strategy, like A8 folding out like King 7 or like King 10, King Jack, Jack 10. Like the hands that really benefit from folding out the 3 straights around the Queen X are doing the most betting. A bunch of our flush draws are betting the turn. Small, just to fold out. Yeah, again, you just fold out a bunch of dominating hands like the Jack X, Jack 9 of spades folding out, King 10 high. It's just massive. So paired boards. So paired boards in general, in cash at least, very like a bit different to MTTs because of the way that ante functions with the big blind. Way less offsuit trips. These boards are basically just blank. At least the low paired boards. Kind of just very like 5-5. Like they're just very beneficial for IP just because of the way overpairs. The amount of how strong overpairs are relative to the rest of good hands are just way too strong. So I'm just gonna bet. I'm not gonna roll. I think we're gonna mostly bet. Queen 10. Queen 10 doing a decent bit of checking actually. It's definitely not a range bet board. That being said, I do think you can get away with c-betting more in real life than against the bot. Yeah, the bot is gonna savage you in a bunch of spots. C-betting, you know, people aren't finding like 17-18% just flop check raise in real life compared to the bot. And obviously when check raise numbers go down, the EV of c-betting goes up. You start to just over realize the whole entire EV of your range. So yeah, just gonna move on from that. Paired board again. This time we have the gutter. I think 10-9 is one of the hands that just intuitively really benefits from c-betting a lot. Folding out like with 10. I mean, again, it's this same thing of like what does betting achieve, right? So like when we c-bet with 10-9, we have a hand that can peel a check raise with a relatively strong draw to what should be almost the nuts. That folds out worse. It folds out dominating hands. So I think even on a 97, this might bet 80-ish%. What's 10-9 with the 10-9 with the backdoor is pure. Okay. So it's mainly just the fact that we don't have a bad flush draw is like pushing it down. I wasn't sure if it was just going to pure bet even regardless of the fact that we didn't have a BDFD. 10-9. You can see the 8-9. 8-9 doing a bit more checking. God. Say the same again. When you have the 8-9 that blocks the 7x, it's betting more. You just when you block the highest EV hands of the imposition player, you know the EV of bluffing goes up. Without the backdoor flush draw again, it's just checking. Checking more rather, but relatively high c-bet frequency board. I think the lower the trips, the lower the pair on board, the more polar your betting strategy starts to become. And so like 4-4-3-3, 5-5 becomes quite easy for out of position to play against small c-bets on those types of boards where just like your whole range has 2 overcards or better basically. King 6-4 flush draw, just going to bet again. I mean, pretty common node in button big blind is check c-bet call. especially on these like jack through king high disconnected boards. Even with the flush draw, you do more checking than you do in ante games, just because of the big blinds ranges is so much more condensed. But um, you still do a lot of betting on a lot of boards. Flush draw 4, I'm gonna roll. I think we only play B50 maybe here. Out of position should have more 3 of a kind than us. Flush is relatively similar-ish, but we're gonna have a bunch of King X that still wants to bet. So I think when we pick a sizing here on the turn, we're gonna want to pick mostly a smallish sizing and play a one sizing strategy. I don't really think we accomplish much. Generally good heuristic I think to use is that on flush completing turns you almost never play turnover bets IP. You generally want to go small, small, then really big, or checking. So I'm gonna play B50. That's incorrect. We play pot. Interesting. So I went with the notion that we want to have hands like King Jack that still want to bet the turn. And I mean, we are still getting a bunch of B50ing with this King Jack through King 9 portion of our range. I don't remember what I rolled. 8-9 of spades is just a pure big bet. Do we have any flushes that go in? It's like Queen 5, Queen, like the Queen high spades. I guess the spades, the flushes that need less protection are just going in the small bet node a lot more. It's like Ace 5 going like in the small bet node like 47% of the time. Ace Ace, Ace of Spades Ace, small betting a lot. So I guess when we have specifically 8-9, we also unblock a bunch of the offsuit King X with a spade that just will always call the bigger sizing. I'm gonna retry this fixed purely because I want to play the river node of this hand. It's not gonna give me the river node. Um, 10-8-5 rainbow. I think 10 high semi-connected. I would play like a B75 here. Like some of these, I only ever play one sizing sims on the flop. I assume when these sims were done, it was with the knowledge that one sizing on the flop pair is losing EV. So like converging these two sizes to like a B75 is lower EV than it is splitting between the 3E size, which is 115% and a third. I think 4s on a 93 is almost always going to check. These are like the prime candidates for checking on these types of boards when you're playing mixed strategies. You know, underpairs that barrel off. The underpairs barrel off at some like lowish frequency, but you know that ace king high obviously need to ban the bot 1 second. Ace king high is a really prime candidate for checking back. Facing check again. I think my hand is just going to check bang, especially with the gutter now. We don't really want to get check raised. and then we just call or call any pair against block, trivially lose. At least it's realistic that we never win when we call a block. But yeah, gonna look at the flop strategy a little bit more. So yeah, you can see deuces through fours, just mostly checking. Sixes, sevens, again mostly checking. Hands that just don't really want to get check raised when they have like sixes and sevens specifically with the backdoor straight draw. They turn equity so often that I think that like these types of hands, like you can see that the hands containing a 6 are doing like a good chunk of checking, 6 and 7. Then the hands that contain like ace 9, again another hand that really doesn't want to get check raised, ace 9 with the backdoor, because it just has enough equity that it's gonna put money in. It's forced to put money in a node where it doesn't really want to. It wants to just check back and realize. A lot of the betting gonna be bigger. 10 high. I mean, you just force money in against a range of your opponents that doesn't have many nutted combos comparative to your own. Has a range that contains a lot of draws that are forced to put money in against any sizing. So on these boards where your opponent doesn't have that many strong hands, his range is going to be composed of a lot of like bluff catches and draws. You really want to just start forcing money in as quickly as possible with your best hands. So this is a fun one. I'm gonna roll. I would roll for a check raise frequency here. I think the primary ones you're gonna use are around the ace 3. So all of the wheel stuff, like 4 deuce is going to be pure, I think here. 4-5 is going to be very high frequency. 5 deuce is going to be high frequency, but then you're still going to have some of these 3 straights around the 8 that are going to get used. 9-7 I think is going to get used at a way higher clip than 9-6. On a 66 I'm just going to fold. Oh wow, does it continue? Wow, that's sick. It calls. I knew it would be raising at some frequency, but I wasn't sure if yeah, so 9-6 no 9-5 is folding. Oh, so I just folded like the indifferent hand. So the bot wrecked me actually. Like I think I would have continued like king 6 actually with the backdoor over 9-6. It's actually the inverse. Like all of the 3 wheel with a backdoor is kind of trivial-ish. If you've looked at enough sims, you know, folding a 3 wheel is not ideal. When you had like, you can see that the hands with the 4 straights around the ace 3 are just like going nuts. Even like the bottom pair with the backdoor type hands. 3 deuce doesn't even need the backdoor. That's just a 3 wheel and a pair. But then like 5 deuce, 4 deuce, 6-3 even, 6-3 less without the backdoor. Like 5-3 loves it. Even 5-6 because it on the 4 deuce like coolering a 5 is like a massive. Yeah, wow, the bot wrecked me. Still overfolding to third pot. That's bad of me. Ace, Queen, Jack, Rainbow. I think we should expect a lot of big betting. With Queen 10, I think we have a hand that just always calls. I don't think I'm ever going to do any raising with this. Turns very grim. Um, we have a double go. I think I would maybe fold with the club. This might be an inaccuracy as well. I think with the double gutter against the bot, I have to continue here. I'm not thrilled about it. It could just be a fold. Yeah. Yeah, my hand is about indifferent, which is roughly what I thought. I wasn't super thrilled. With the ten of clubs, it's folding more. Actually, folds more in my combo than it does with the ten of clubs, which is interesting. I guess maybe it heroes off sometimes on the club. But yeah, I mean the bot just had a hand. He had 10-8, right? Yeah, he just has a hand that gives up on the ace of clubs is a really lowish EV river for the bot. Actually, there he got kind of unfortunate. This is kind of boring one. Not much to talk about there. Same again here. I'm probably just gonna fold. Now I've turned a gutter. I think fours here is likely too bad to block. It wouldn't surprise me if it blocked with the. I would be a lot happier bluffing the turn here, or like with spade diamond. I think when I have the diamond, I'm still gonna do some bang. On a 16, I could kind of like. I don't think the B150 ever gets used here. I think there's just too much symmetry in straights. I think all three of these options with my hand are fine. I'm going to block, I think. This might be bad, yeah. It's just a pure check. That's annoying. I wasn't sure if 4-4, even 4 spades, 4 diamonds is doing no bang. I wasn't sure, but I guess you just don't, you have no incentive to put money in with pairs. It just goes check check and you just realise your pot share enough the time. You just use like flush draws or hands with an open ender. I wasn't sure if on a lower. We picked the lowest EV loss bet sizing, which is good, I guess. Like silver linings, but I think when we. Yeah. We want to do majority big betting, which I mean makes a lot of sense. We just have so many good hands, and it's such a dynamic board. Like, we just have a lot of value on this board. 6, 7, the 3 straight is just really good for the big blind range. You know, we have 12 combos of straights pure in our range that just want to be shoveling money into the pot. So, yeah, annoying one. It's like the first, my first actual mistake in this spot in a while. King 8 off. Yeah. I think on the 10 of spades we're going to be primarily checking our hand again. My my headset died again because there's no noise. Yeah, we just have no pair, no draw, no just like a zero equity, and I think it's just gonna be a check fold. When do we turn our garbage hands like King 8 to bluff? I mean, King 8 in that spot is mostly just going to check to the river. Um, you're going to bluff the river a decent amount with King 8 when it checks to the river, but generally when you're probing the turn, you at least want to have, if you don't have how should I say it? You want it's just equity in general. Like you just don't want to have that many zero equity hands when your range is so wide. And our betting volume isn't really that high. Um, we're going to be betting a decent amount, but we're not going to be betting too much. Like you're just going to be massively over bluffing if you're using a bunch of these zero EV hands. Sorry, these like zero equity hands like King A off there with that spot where you have bad removal. You're blocking folds. Like having the King of Clubs isn't ideal. Like if you have Jack 9, you bet the turn, you're gonna fold out King Jack. But when you have King 8, if you don't have any equity on turn, it depends on the spot. But I mean, I think as a general rule, just not putting money in the pot. I think if the majority of players just didn't put money in the pot with their with zero equity hands, they would probably make more money rather than putting money in with them. Ace 5, just gonna check. I think it's just gonna fold. It's kind of close with the 6-7. The problem is with the 6-7, like with the low end. This is like kind of an indifferent hand. On a 70, I'm gonna fold. This might be a mistake. Yeah. I think ace 6. Yeah, ace 6 is always calling. Sorry, ace 6, even ace 6 off is folding, and then ace 7 is calling. Okay, wow. Yeah, I think just the low end, having the low end of the backdoor straight draw just sucks. This spot, like, no over as well. Like, we just have too much of our range has equity for us to need to continue those types of hands. King 6 deuce, flush draw, I'm going to range bet. Going to give up on a 90. I would play, so my turn strategy I play B75 or B150. Here's 50, 100 and 150, so I would probably play a sort of 50-ish% sizing with my worst King X, and then play an overbet strategy with my hands that just, my really strong hands that just want to be all in by the river. So I think with like King Jack is probably the cutoff for B150. Like King Jack, is probably going to be suit dependent, or it can make it into either sizing. Ace Queen will want to be 50, and then just your worst King X. Ace 5 off, again, just no equity. Really interesting river. I think we play pot only. I wouldn't be surprised if we get overbets on the river. Our hand is never going to be part of that strategy, but I wouldn't be too surprised if, I think we might split B100 and B200. I'm gonna B100 my hand. It's B50, isn't it? So annoying. Like, it's so clear that we do get B100. It's ace 5 is just too bad. It's annoying. I wasn't sure if it was a spot where you can get away with just B100 ace-x. We do have this like slither of overbet strategies centered around ace deuce because I guess ace deuce just cool as king queen. And then you just bluff 10-9. Yeah, ace deuce and ace queen because they both cool a king queen. That's annoying. Again, yeah, ace. It's just not. It's slightly too bad to make it into B100. Yeah, it'll just be because you just don't have enough. Your hand isn't high enough EV to. You don't beat other ace-x enough. Like when you're value betting and you get called by bear too much, it's really bad. I think this is just a range per board again, to be honest. Going to double check because yeah, pure range bet. Two Broadway rainbow. It's pretty safe to just play a range betting strategy. Monotone boards are always fun. So I'm gonna check my hand on a 74, but I'm trying to work out how I would want to construct my betting range here. On the ace king high, you generally want to play a super polar betting strategy. Ace king 3 deuce, especially now the wheel completes. We want to be so polar when we're putting money in the pot because we're betting into a range of that is theoretically uncapped for one. But on the monotone boards in general, I think you just don't really want to play many big probes. So I think I would split here between mostly block and check. I'm gonna check on that number. My hand is. Oh wow, we are getting overbets. Our range is mostly checking, which makes sense. Mostly just playing some sort of medium sizing around the wheel. I would have played maybe probing slightly too wide here actually. Like I probably would have been at least ace jack off with a spade. These types of hands, ace jack ace 10 with like a spade, seem like hands that I probably would have been putting money in the middle with. 4-5 flopped flushes just seem to check again mostly. This is so fun. How no one plays strategies like this, like with this heavy a checking strategy. Like you just don't really see regs at almost any stakes actually playing heavy like 78% check back majority of nodes. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. I should have EV loss on here. Interesting. Monotone boards are so really very difficult. Generally they just play very passively until the river. Monotone boards. Just because so many hands get devalued by the 4 flush. And there are just so few strong hands. Spots where one card is the nuts. Generally, just not that money goes in until the river, as a general rule. king 10 off, I think, is going to continue on an 80. I rolled a very small, like a trace of raise. I think my combo likely will never raise. Check, check on the turn. Now on the river, like 5-3 completes. Majority of our range is just Jack X that wants to bet. We have a few strong hands. 5-3 obviously raises the flop quite a lot. All the sets raise the flop. We have Jack 10. Jack 10 blocks calling range so much. I think if I was hand playing, I would block. I think blocking will exist here. Like, I think I'm like the best 4x. Like 5-6, for example, might really be a hand that wants to block. I might be making this up. Oh wow, King 10's just good enough to bet big. Interesting. I didn't think King 10 would be good enough to bet big. Like, you can see that 9-9 is like pure blocking actually. On like the worst 10x, so like 10x of spades from the flop are just pure blocking. Queen 10 is actually pure blocking, and King 10 is the cutoff. So I'm like 1 pip off. Jack 10 is all over the place depending on suits. So when you have the 10 of spades in your hand, it seems Jack of hearts, 10 of spades, Jack of hearts, 10 of clubs. And Ace 10. I imagine Ace 10 is checking because a lot of the calling range against B100 is going to be Ace high heavy. So I would imagine that hands like Ace King high might just be a pure river call. So then when you block like the Ace high hands that call the river, King 10 can still get away with betting purely because the removal effect just isn't as strong. But I think like Ace 10 specifically might just block too much. Let's retry fixed. So check, bet, call, check, check. Then let's B100. See how the bot responds against B100. Yeah, you can see that like Ace high is like he's mixing calls with like Ace 8, Ace 7. Ace 10, nah, Ace 10 will never check fold. It's purely to do with this, like, look at how condensed the calling range is. It's purely due to the fact that you block certain, like, almost every hero call. Like, all of the heroes are just have an ace in them. Like, ace 7 of clubs, ace 7 of hearts, like... So when you like start to block so many combos of calls against the bet sizing, your hand is going to go into a check, the check node. It's kind of similar-ish to when you like flop 2 pair and the middle pair pairs. So like you have like Queen 7 on Queen 7 9, turn break river 9. It's a spot where Queen 7 will check and all of your other Queen X will bet. Because you just block so many of the... You just block calling range too hard. Like you... your hand just becomes higher EV to check because it just doesn't get called enough. Yes, right. So you just start to use ace 10 to bluff catch because when you have this this betting range that's getting called by predominantly ace high, you know, obviously you're going to cool a 10x some, but like if you look at the way the calling range looks like, it's predominantly 10x and ace-x, and you just hard block both of them. It's pretty cool. I think it's going to be relatively minor EV, I would imagine. I mean, the hand is indifferent, it seems. Completely indifferent. It's obviously going to be a pretty big mixing error, but it's kind of annoying for me that I blocked the river and queen 10's pure blocking, king 10's pure big bang, and ace 10's pure checking almost. But yeah, you just use ace 10 to bluff catch because ace high never bluffs. I think ace high will like never bluff the river in this spot. There's too many worse unpaired. So ace high just isn't really going to bluff the river as well, which makes ace 10 like a really clean check call combo, actually, when you think about it. So queen 6-3, nothing going on here. Queen 9-6. So a mixing error is there are different types of errors you can make when you're trying to play theoretically optimally. So mixing errors are just errors where you take the incorrect frequency of an indifferent hand. Indifferent hands are hands where the EV of the two options is the same. So I'm gonna bet here just to. I think this is a very high frequency bet board as well. Would barrel sometimes with the diamond on the turn, but I think when you block 7-5, which I think you might block folds, and then river I might bluff here. I'll explain mixing errors in a second. I'm just gonna knuckle. So you can see all of these hands here that are taking different, taking multiple options. So like let's look at like ace 7 for instance. You can see that ace of diamonds, 7 of spades on the river is betting half pot 6.3% of the time. Betting in the full pot 25.9% of the time. Betting double pot 67.8% of the time. So what it means is that our hand is indifferent between three separate options, so the EV of all of these sizes is identical. Any hand that is mixing, any of these hands that they're performing different sizings or mixing check and bet, all of these hands are indifferent. So what ends up happening with, I think the majority of regs mistakes at higher stakes actually tend to trend towards mixing errors, which is simply where you're going to use the wrong. So say instead of betting $18.28 77.1% of the time, I'm betting it 90% of the time. Equilibrium is composed of it's designed around these frequencies, right? And when you start making mixing errors, yeah, that's you've literally just nailed it on there. You're just choosing the action at the wrong frequency and in different spots, which means that it's going to change the equilibrium. If your opponent adjusts it makes you exploitable, making mixing errors. All of these sims are done with Pio, yeah. This isn't arrangement board actually. Ace High is a really interesting board. I think if I was going to study a specific subset of boards, I would pick Ace High. Purely because I think people play them really badly right now. So like everyone c-bets these boards way too much, and nobody plays probe strategies correctly. I think Queen 9 backdoor can get away with betting. I would play overbet or check her. Again, I think it's a spot where you would want to mix between the small sizing and the really big sizing. I could see my hand going in any of the bluff sizings. On a 96, I'm going to check. High is my passive. Wow, this is a pure bet. You can actually see that the small bet is like never used on ace high. You just have so many good hands on ace high boards. That's really annoying. I rolled like the cusp number. Rolled a 96 and checked, and it was 100%. But yeah, generally, I mean, at least when you're using DTO, like when you're getting inaccuracies, the majority of the times you're going to be getting mixing errors. Ace Jack 5. I would trend towards playing a big bet heavy strategy on the ace high Broadway, especially with the wheel. On an 89, I'm going to check. I think I would majority check my hand anyway. It might just be a pure check. We could maybe start doing some sort of delay big stuff, like the delay B80. I think it's really close. I'm gonna check against the bot. I would be a lot happier betting against a human than I would be against the bot, because I know the bot is going to be probing for a really big sizing on the turn and playing a really polar strategy. So the bot's checking range is going to be really protected actually on the ace high boards. Whereas I think humans, in the majority of pools, people don't play big enough bet sizes on ace high boards after the check flop mode, and they play too high of a betting volume into the flop check back. So I think when the big blind checks again on the turn, I would be a lot happy. Like, this is one of the hands I would maybe consider betting that I think is going to be a really heavy check. On the river, on the diamond, it's close. I think if I had Badoogie ace 3, I would maybe check 3 times. With the 3 of diamonds, I'm gonna be 50. Yeah. Let's see. All ace 3 is just a pure bet, okay. Badoogie ace 6 is doing some big bang actually. Wow, so I'm probably not being aggressive enough with my ace x. Ace 7 being 2 pair, betting less than ace 6 seems crazy to me. Like, obviously 8-6 is a hand that arrives at the river, like, almost pure. In this spot for OP, and it's obviously a really high EV hand. I guess, like, 2 pair just doesn't really matter that much in this spot. like compared to just aces, like having an ace, like the EV of just like the second pair is just like not irrelevant, but like it's not like you're coolering worst two pair. I'm gonna pure check out the big blind. Versus B70, I think this is close between raise and call. On a 16, I'm gonna raise. Play no raising with king queen. It's so annoying. I wasn't sure how polar. Like if I had ace queen here, I'd be way happier. Queen jack's raising for protection, and king queen never. I really wasn't sure how polar versus big bet our it's not really a strategy I've played against much on this board. I would be like very happy raising against small bet, I think, but against big bet it gets a lot dicier. Needs to be much more polar, I guess. Playing 8% check raise. So let's retry that one. Play some turns versus the big bet node. I wonder if how much leading we do on the turn on the ace after the big bet. I think that we might actually do some block leading. I've like autopilot folded the turn there while I was talking. Do any leading? No. That's annoying. I should have made that mistake. I was just talking. How? I think I have a hand that will see bet anyway, but I wonder what our global betting frequency is on this flop. I'd imagine it's like 80 to 85-ish%. It's like pure. Okay. Easy check. Check, check. I think my hand will almost always check the turn. On a jack, I think it's close between block and check with my hand. When we have a 4, I think it's... I mean, having the pure unblocker to bluffing range makes me want to check my hand more, I think, having a 4. Given that he just has... I'm just gonna roll. I think it's a relatively high check percentage on the river. It's pure block, okay. So annoying. And then ace 5, ace 6 is checking, ace 5 is checking. But yeah, I mean, I guess we just play such a... We play big bet with everything better. I mean, ace 7 is like a pure, like really high percentage check, and then ace 4 is just blocking. I'm always like, amongst these hands I'm hitting inaccuracies in, I'm getting like I'm like 1 pip away from the right strategy. So I guess 4 through deuce with the pure unblockers, you just pure block. Because you just completely unblock calling ranges. And then 6 through. And then 6 through 9. 6 with the counterfeit 2 pair is going to check a bunch. That makes sense because obviously blocking blocking 6x that always calls, it's like a similar heuristic to what we were talking about before, where when you have a value hand that blocks calls, you put it into the check node a lot more. Just gonna bet this hand on this number. I think Ace of Spades 5 is, yeah, it's a really high frequency one. Without the spade, it goes down. It's definitely not a range bet board by any means, but I think with my hand specifically, we just really want to bet. I think I am going to bet with my combo, and I would check with King 4 of Hearts and Clubs. What did I roll? I rolled a 20, right? Yeah. Yeah, so you can see that with having the backdoor flush draw is a really big deal when it comes to randomizing your equity. Or picking how to bet, sorry. You can see that just having a bonus equity from the BDFD. And all the frequencies of the King X is just scaling linearly with hand strength. So King Jack obviously betting the most, and King 3 pure checking. King 4 I wasn't sure. I mean, I rolled a 20. It's betting 10%. So again, just like a minor mixing error. But I think I'm constructing relatively well in this spot. Gonna check Ace 10, I think, going to call, given the King Queen spot we saw last time. Could do some leading here on the turn. I don't think my hand will lead very much, but I could definitely see my range wanting to do some leading. We continue any hand with a 9 in it versus that sizing, and the button doesn't see bet every hand with a 9 in them, so this should be a bit of asymmetry there, which I think is going to push us towards leading. I'm going to check, I think, with my hand. This is kind of grim. I think we have to call again. I'm not very happy. It might be a spot where you take the 10 with the unblocker as opposed to the Broadway 10. I think having an ace is kind of a blank card here. This could be a fold as well. Like I would pure continue Jack 10. I don't think Jack 10's close. I think Queen 10's a fold. I think Ace 10 just has to continue. Check, check. Yeah, you can. Yeah, my hand is just indifferent. So Queen 10's calling and Ace 10's folding. Okay, so I got that the opposite way around. Jack 10 is a. Why is Queen 10 suited? So how? Yeah, Queen 10 with the spade is pure folding, which that's makes a lot of sense. Obviously, having a spade is bad when you want your opponent to have spades. Jack 10 pure continuing with the gur, having bonus equity or just redraw equity against value is a really big deal. I was kind of right when I said that I think I would rather take the 10 with the unblocker. Like 10-5 doesn't really count, but like 10-4. I guess 10-4 has the gutter to the lower straight, which is just again extra equity. But I think I would have continued Ace 10 over Red Queen 10 in game. I wonder why. How much of like having an ace doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I guess Ace Jack is a relatively big portion of bluffing range, but like there's so much King Queen Queen Jack. That I would have thought that having like look at the amount of Queen X that's just getting blasted. Like how I'm so surprised that Queen 10 is a better continue than Ace Queen here. Like I think I nailed the way the removal effects work intuitively, but I must be missing something. I'm kind of tired. I'm still a bit jet lagged. I got back from Vegas like 2 days ago, so I may be yeah, top. This is very sad. This makes me sad. Like this hand, I feel like this hand deserves to flop something. I think this is never gonna bluff. It's gonna be very low. Yeah, pure check. Queen 9-6. I can tell I've been playing ante because I just want to big bet all of these boards. I think on the flush draw boards, I mean, the fact that this split exists, we have to have some big bets. I think. On a 7, I'm gonna big bet my hand. Big bet lead. Gonna roll a raise. I think the nut flush draw isn't really a hand that benefits from raising too much. With the 4 of hearts. This bot is sick. I wonder if on bricks we ever do some calling with our hand. I even wonder against this sizing if I ever do some calling. Like, I have to win so little percentage of the time. Having the 4 of hearts seems okay. We unblock. I mean, majority of Jack is such a terrible river is the problem. We unblock all the gutters are on the 9-6 rat, but like everything around the Queen 9 just completed on the Jack. I'm going to fold, but I wouldn't be surprised if it calls sometimes. I'm such a station. So yeah, ace 4 of diamonds is calling pure. Which doesn't really surprise me. I mean, the bot can't. Like, diamonds are a much better hero than hearts because you unblock hearts, which is the majority of the bot's flop check call range, right? When we play the geometric sizing on the flop, the bot can't have a bunch of the diamond hands. So like ace 4 of diamonds is just pure unblocker, which is kind of cool. I'm glad that I identified that ace 4 is a hand that really wants to call, but hearts are bad. And then let's look at the turn node. I didn't think my hand ever wanted to raise. I mean, obviously we do a lot of raising. None in the suit, like the ace high suited department. Yeah, 7-5, 8-5, 10-7, 10-8. A lot of the lower SDV flush draws or the flush draws with some sort of equity to go alongside them. Very good flop. On a 65, I think I'm gonna mostly bet this hand. And then we complete the flush. I think with the 9 of hearts blocking Jack 9, we're gonna trap more. I think if I had like King High Hearts without the 9 of Hearts, but when we have the 9 of Hearts blocking Jack 9, which is one of the hands that we primarily want to stack, I'm gonna want to check more. This might be a mistake. I want to look at the turn frequencies. I think river is just a B100. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a B150, but like ace, sorry, a B50. But I think ace queen is just going to be good enough to go for 100%. So yeah, we're primarily betting the turn with our hand. I think I rolled a 23 or something. And I check the turn like 17% of the time. Ace 9 is checking a decent bit. Ace Jack. And then Ace King of Hearts I think is a really easy one. Like when you double block the nut and second nut flush draws. I think that's one where it's like quite an intuitive check. I think when you have the Jack, like the others are just pure. So Ace Deuce for Ace 7 all pure, and then Ace 9 is the one where spinning check starts to make sense. I think just blocking Jack 9 makes us want to check more, I think. Like that makes it one of the better. I think Ace Jack as well, like similar reasons. Ace Jack just blocks even more flushes, so it checks even more. Gonna check. Pure call, I think. Oops. I think 10-7 is going to... I think on the ace, when it goes check check, I think block isn't really much of a thing. I think it was primarily going to be playing big side. I mean, I keep getting these hands where like the hand themselves wants to block. Like 10-7 is like an example of a hand that really wants to block itself. I'm just not really sure how much of our range actually benefits from blocking, because like the bot, after it goes big bet flop, like the ace on the turn should be like relatively high-ish check back percentage. Like a lot of your range as the button gets devalued on the ace. I'm gonna check again. It's a pure block, obviously. This has happened like 3 times, I think. You play mostly block actually. Well, I guess most of your range is 10x, but I really didn't think that we would get to do this much betting on the river. Like ace-10 blocking makes sense. I thought this overbet node would be a little bit bigger than it is. It seems to just be centered around 2 pair unblocking ace-x. It's like 8-5 is the really obvious one. 7, mainly just bluffing 7-6, 7-4. Keep getting these inaccuracies. I'm trying to mixing is you should really like on a serious note, like whenever you're using a trader, you really need to mix. So many of these spots, you're cheating yourself if you're not trying to mix correctly. Queen 6 high, I think, is just going to check, give up, not give up. This is kind of grim. Might just be a spot we bluff unpaired. Queen high with a 6. Like I think it's going to be a big split here between B25 and B200, and I'm trying to work out which sizing I want my hand to go in. I think it's going to be 25. I think I want to have a 9 or a 10 in my hand a lot to go for a big sizing. It shouldn't really matter. It'll matter a very trace amount, but oh wow, mistake. My hand doesn't bluff. Fuck. I actually found the split as well. I found this split that I identified the blocker overbet and the construction of the overbetting range. You just want to have a 9 or a 10 too badly, but when you're blocking, you just queen high is just too good. Queen 8 is bluffing. Then queen 7 through queen deuce. It's just pure checking. Just with the lack of removal is just too bad. Three deuce three deuce bluffing is kind of unsurprising. With the river ace deuce blocker. Check, check. On a 40, I have such a tempting hand to blast here, actually. Like, I think this is the type of hand that is really gonna blast off the King X or Queen X with the 4 through deuce. I'm not sure specifically with diamonds. I feel like I would rather have spades because diamonds are going to be a lot of the button's check back range. No, it's the other way around actually, where diamonds are going to bet more when we're deeper. When you're shallower, the hands with the bind off flush draw check back the flop more because they don't want to get check raised in spots where you can play 2 street games. But I mean, you can't really play a 2 street game at all on this. I think I'm gonna check again on a 47, and I think I'm just gonna check down. It's very sad, but like, fuck's sake. We just bluff queen high to fold out king high. And don't bluff. We just give up like 8 high. Again, just like nailed the inverse of the spot. I thought it was a spot where we were just gonna bluff like semi-linearly based on relative hand strength, and queen high might occasionally win some, but I guess not. Queen 4 is queen 4 of diamonds is actually a pure bet, and queen 4 of clubs and spades is like mostly checking, which is annoying. Then on the turn, a bunch of our probing, yeah, king 4, 3 deuce. I mean, you mostly just want the flush draw, which I kind of thought in game. Like the hands with the flush draw are like massive. Then the wheelie stuff. But of the king X that does bet, you know, the king 4 3 deuce are the ones where it is actually coming out 15 2% of the time. King deuce doing it slightly more, but it's just a little bit too bad. Pure check fold. I think our hand is gonna like never see that. Then when we turn the gutter, on a 96, I think it's close. On a lower number, I would be happier betting, and on like an actual 100, I would be happy checking. I'm gonna check again on that number. It could very well be a pure bluff. Then I think my hand is always going to bluff the river. I think not enough completes on the 4 to warrant using a bigger sizing than B50. Wow, we have way more king X than I would have thought. Yeah, we just have so much king X. I didn't really think we would have this much king X. Like, I thought most of our value range would be the stuff that's getting bet for B50. So like centered around like Jack X. Some of the really weak King X. King 4 makes sense. And then like the river 2 pair type stuff, I thought might have there's like not enough of that to carve out this big sizing there. I felt like same as 7-6, but I'm gonna play a few more hands and then finish up probably. Been live for an hour and 25. Going to check on this number actually. King, king. I think you want to bet the pocket pairs that require more protection. So like check aces and kings more. It's like not a super high EV board for us. I think without the diamond, I think my hand is still good. We go bigger, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we just go bigger and more polar. Really doesn't seem like we have that much of a value range, but I mean, I guess our value range is like ace queen mostly, just like queen jack. King queen mostly checking the turn, which is insane. I don't think I would have found that personally. Yeah, I guess we play quite a high check back on the flop, which is what I thought. King's mostly checking back, so I actually nailed this. Ace is betting a little bit more because the gur, but like eights are like pure betting, kings are like pure checking. I think it's really important to be aware of like the functionality of like betting for protection in these sorts of spots. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much of a big sizing I would get to use on the mono turn, or on the flush completer at least. But I guess that answers that. $10-8. Just gonna be betting a bunch. King 7-6, gonna bet. Pure give up, probably. Spin a nominal raise. Yeah, I think I'm probably done, I guess, for tonight. We played... Well, how many hands did I play? My GTO percentage has probably been... it's only 69 now. 83 hands. 67%. Mostly inaccuracies. Few mistakes. That 4-4, I got kind of RNG'd a weird number. There was a hand I made a mistake where I was playing. I was just talking too much on the stream. But yeah, I mean, people, you can get it's really more about EV loss. I think EV loss is much more important than your GTO percentage. Some of these guys are beasts, man. This guy's played fucking 4,800 hands. But yeah, hopefully a bunch of the concepts I talked about were helpful to people. This is a spot that I would drill a lot, especially if you're like playing a format like if you're playing Zoom ever or anything like this. Button versus big blind is going to be like the bread and butter of your win rate. So hopefully I went over a bunch of stuff that people found useful. Any suggestions for what I should go over next time? I think I'm probably going to look at maybe a 3-bet pot spot. Be super grateful. Any sort of advice on where to improve and things, but yeah, hopefully it should be better next time. I'm not as jet lagged. But yeah, thanks everyone. See you in a bit.